Hey guys, Marsing here bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video, and so today we had an interesting post come up on the official Dokkan social media with a new roadmap explaining the details of the update for the celebrations that we will see coming for the rest of the year. It's not the full year, but it's a bit of an update on what we saw last time from the producer letter and has essentially confirmed some of the takeaways that we had from that previous thing. So it is kind of funny that the tweet is like, it mentions the producer letter. When I first read it, I thought it was like it was a new producer letter, but this is literally the only image that the tweet is. It just says, as in the May producer letter, the roadmap for campaigns has changed. Campaigns celebrating the game's release will be held twice a year. Look forward to the Global Dokkan Campaign 2025 in July. So basically what they're saying is, as we already confirmed, or as we already speculated, what is being confirmed is that the Global Dokkan campaign that will now be taking place in July is essentially like the half anniversary. So you can see here the anniversary itself is actually going to be renamed, which is kind of interesting because I guess, like, you know, even though it is just a formality, I suppose, the anniversary, whether it's been in, you know, January for JP, July for Global, has always been a numbered thing, right? Like this year, for the first time, we had the celebration at the same time, and it was the 10th anniversary. That's what the campaign was called. But going forwards, the celebration that is now in January to February, which will be obviously everything's on both versions at the same time now, is going to be called the Dokkan Supreme Celebration. And then in July, we have the Global Dokkan campaign, which obviously we already knew a little bit about this. But this is essentially confirming that this is the second anniversary level campaign, anniversary 0.5, whatever you want to call it, the half year anniversary. So that means going forward, if you think about when we get to the next January, the celebration is not going to be called the 11th anniversary. It's going to be called the Dokkan Supreme Celebration. Now, obviously, I'm sure the news updates and the celebration info itself will say things like celebrating the 11th anniversary of Dokkan Battle, that kind of thing. But the celebration will no longer be called the 11th anniversary, the 12th anniversary. It's going to be called the Dokkan Supreme Celebration. And then in July, we have the Global Dokkan campaign. Now, this is good for a number of reasons. Obviously, January to July is like the exact middle point of the year. So having the two biggest celebrations that are seemingly going to be on a similar level, like it says right at the top, anniversary-sized campaigns twice a year. So whilst we wouldn't expect every anniversary going forward to be as crazy as the 10th anniversary, just think about that. Like, we're a few months removed from the anniversary now, but that kind of celebration twice a year, so every 6 months, an anniversary level celebration, and having them spread out in that gap, I think, is a lot better. Because, of course, the way it used to be, as it shows on the left, is JP would have the Tanabata celebration in July, Global would have the anniversary, obviously like 6 months late. And then September to October, we would have the worldwide celebration, which was the closest thing to an anniversary level campaign. Fairly similar, right? Especially with the units in terms of how the banners worked. But things like overall content and stuff like that, the anniversary was always slightly superior. And the problem was obviously for global players, this then meant that the worldwide celebration was coming very, very soon after the anniversary. So the gap in between the two was very small, and it was very difficult to save and have stones ready for the worldwide if you've gone all out for the anniversary, which most people do save up to do. And then, of course, the Tanabata campaign would then have to be moved and would come to Global usually sometime around November. Whereas now, the two biggest and most important celebrations of the year, the ones that you're going to want to be saving your stones for, are going to be exactly 6 months apart, right? So if you're a free-to-play or a low-spending player, it means you have those 6 months between the big celebrations to save, ready for the next one. And with the pity system that they introduced in the last anniversary and worldwide, as long as that stays the same with the amount of stones it is to get to pity, the amount of stones these celebrations usually give out, if you do save between the Dokkan Supreme celebration to the Global Dokkan campaign, like, you should have enough to hit pity. So even if your summons go as bad as possible and you don't pull any of the new units, you'll still be able to get one of the new units at the end of the celebration. So that is pretty good. And then the new bit of information that we have, which, I mean, we kind of saw that Tanabata was getting moved anyway, but it is confirmed here that the Tanabata celebration, what that would normally be, is being moved to the September to October time slot and will have a new name, right? It's a new campaign, because obviously for Global, there's no point calling it the Tanabata Celebration. They never did, right, when they moved it to November, because Global doesn't know what that is. And in JP, it was called that because it takes place at the same time as the real-life Tanabata Celebration in Japan. So there would be no point calling it that if it's then taking place months after that actual celebration happens, like in Japan on the calendar, right? So it's going to be a new campaign with a different name. So if we take a look at I brought up the pages for the wiki. We don't have to go into like a huge detail because the wiki hasn't been updated for a while now. They don't have even the full details for the 9th year celebrations. So this is the Tanabata from the 8th year. But you have to remember the Tanabata is, I forget they update these so they end up going in reverse order. But we always get a Dokkan Fest exclusive LR with a banner unit. Then we normally get this banner, which is the Tanabata Dokkan Festival. It's where the anniversary units had returned for the first time. I feel like this is probably going to be just done away with now, right? Because we would assume the anniversary units are going to come back on the Global Dokkan campaign banners. Because now that they're the 2 big banners every 6 months, like those units must surely return on those banners when that next celebration starts, right? So this probably isn't going to be a thing anymore, but a new Dokkan Fest exclusive LR with a banner unit, and then in part 2 we get a Carnival LR, usually a double rates banner. So I could see the celebration still being something like that. It's kind of essentially what Golden Week has now become, right? It was a dual Dokkan Fest and then a Carnival LR double rates banner for part 2. So this new celebration for what is replacing Tanabata is essentially going to be a Dokkan Fest LR and a part 2 Carnival LR. So very, very interesting. Obviously, remember, when it comes to the worldwide celebration, which is what is essentially being replaced, it is very much similar. Obviously, we switched now fully. They experimented over the last 2 years with doing like 2 Dokkan Fest LRs and then 2 Carnival LRs in part 2. Because obviously the first time they did this was with the worldwide the year before, where they did Cooler and Goku, and they did Carnival and Dokkan Fest, and then part 2 Carnival and Dokkan Fest. Then the year after they changed it to double Dokkan Fest LR, then double Carnival, and then they decided to change it back, and now we have seen for both the worldwide and the anniversary most recent iterations that it is going to be Dokkan Fest and Carnival in both parts, which, to be honest, I think is better. It's interesting having the 2 different banner formats. If you're someone who only wants to summon for the main Dokkan Fest LRs, it means you've got the 1 banner to summon on, and then you can save the rest of the stones for the celebration for part 2. And then when we see what the part 2 units are, you can still, obviously, if you want to, summon for the part 1 Carnival unit. So I've always been a fan of the Dokkan X Carnival format. I think it saves that little bit of hype. The big celebrations like this had kind of always been the hype units were in part 1 and then the less hype units were in part 2, so it made the overall celebration less exciting. So I think Dokkan X Carnival is the way to go. But yeah, the fact that we're going to have a celebration essentially on this kind of level, right? And then this is the 8th anniversary, of course, but going from like an anniversary campaign essentially every 6 months, I think is a really, really good idea. I think this is something that will, in terms of the year as a whole, kind of help to spread that hype out a little bit. My only concern is obviously we still want everything in between the big celebrations to still be good. I'm not expecting every campaign to be like the best campaign there's ever been, but that's my big problem with the fact that Golden Week, I think, has been very disappointing this year. And I've seen a lot of people making the excuse that the Global Dokkan campaign is going to be this massive, awesome celebration that's coming up in, just over a month's time. And so they skimped on Golden Week to make sure this Global Dokkan campaign was super good. And that might be the reason. I just don't think it's a very good reason. Like, I don't think you should sacrifice the quality of a product that you're putting out with being like, oh yeah, we know this thing that we're putting out now actually isn't that good, or it wasn't as good as what you guys expected, but that's because we're making the next thing that we're going to do really, really good. And it's like, you would think, it's a multi-million-dollar company here, remember, like, you would think that if you're going to make your big change to your schedule and make this big, massive, like, global Dokkan campaign and it's going to be super, super good, you would make that change as long as you knew you could still deliver the quality in content, you know, for everything else in between anyway. So it's a bit of a disappointment that I think Golden Week overall this year, but I think a lot of people will probably let it slide if this global Dokkan campaign is successful. I mean, I'm expecting it will be, right? If it's an anniversary level campaign, people are expecting like Daima and stuff like that to be involved. So I could see it being mega hype. I guess we will find out closer to the time. Of course, sometime soon we will find out what the next Dokkan Fest is going to be. Because remember, this is July to August. We still have June to go, where we should see a Dokkan Fest and a Part 2 LR. If anything, last year's schedule is to go by. Last year for JP in this time slot, this is where JP got Physical Rosé and then the Part 2 LR Cell Max, who obviously on release was very, very good. So I guess we shall have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think down below. We now know confirmed 2 anniversary level campaigns a year, 6 months apart, the Dokkan Supreme Celebration and then the Global Dokkan campaign. So like I say, I guess RIP to the numbered anniversary name celebrations, but definitely very cool, very hype. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.